All right, man. Seems like it's been a while since I heard that again. Man, look, we want to welcome everybody again to another episode of Unfiltered Kings and Queen podcast. Man, the podcast where men and women try to talk to each other, not at each other. And so, seems like it's been a minute, man. The month of October is getting away from here. And so, man, we're glad to be back. Man, this is going to be a kind of interesting and unique episode here to where we're going to kind of take a dash in the past. We're embarking upon season 5, and so we want to thank you all out there who allowed us to come all the way from season 1 and be in a position, man, now embarking on season 5. So if you followed us on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, all that other jazz, whether it was a comment, man, whether it was an inbox, man, we greatly thank you so much. And so tonight, our topic is going to be, we're going to get off into some fan mail and flashback, recapping the road that got us here to season 5. But before we do that, as always, man, I want to give an opportunity for the team to kind of greet you guys and say what's up or say whatever they want to do with you guys. Starting with the original female on the crew, as always, Diana. As always, man, it's good to see you.
Hey, good evening. Hope you guys enjoy our show tonight.
Down in the shuttle with the new hairdo. So y'all gotta chime in, man. She did that just for it. No, I'm not. I'm just lying. But then also our newcomer, man, she already seems like she's a vet, man. Has brought a lot of good information. I believe you should give people their flowers publicly. She's brought a lot of great ideas and things that you're going to see in the future to the table. Started off as a guest. Number 2 episode for the past month. So she came in, and raised the bar. And so, Ruth, we're glad to have you tonight.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Hope you enjoy the show tonight.
And she don't have her. She don't have her.
It's over there. It's over there.
Oh my God! Look, I couldn't even get it out, bro. Like
that's called hater, but it's over there. I ain't want to put it on, but it's draping over there. It's draping. You see it in the background. You see it.
Well, we know where that's at now. That once they say what's understood don't have to be said, and so
exactly.
Self-proclaimed Uno champ. Nah, man, it's always good to see you and hear from you, man. And so I'm interested in hearing from you guys. I know I've searched through our 4 seasons of commentary and tried to find my top 5 show. But man, I'm really interested in hearing from you guys and kind of get down on some kind of recapping. What made that show great and what made that show not so much. But all in all, man, we want you all out there to follow us, man. This has been a long journey. We're now on Apple Podcasts, of course, Spotify, YouTube. Get out there, like, follow, and share us, man. Share it with someone. As always, we try to raise the bar every season. And so with us providing this bonus content here for our season 4, this is just our way of saying thank you over the 4 seasons. And then, man, after October, we're going to be heading into season 5, man. And so I think you guys are going to like the pivot. I'll do a little teaser like that that we take for season 5. So you have to follow us, though. You won't know unless you follow us. But with that being said, man, let's just kind of jump off in here. As I said, I have my team here. I have Ruth. I have Diana. I kind of wanted to just kind of get their input. Now, we discussed earlier, this is in no ranking. We just kind of pull what we feel, what our top 5 ones, one that motivate us, inspire us, whatever you have you. And so what we'll be doing is just kind of jumping in, is kind of identifying like what made us pick that one in our top 5 and go from there. And so, Diana, I'll start with you. 4 seasons in, I think you came season 3, if I'm not mistaken. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think it was the end of season 3. Yeah, towards the end of it.
End of season 3. Mm-hmm. So I'm like I said, I'm very interested in kind of seeing, which one in your roster that you pick as one of your top 5, and why.
One of my top 5 was alone versus lonely, different yet familiar. Did you choose that one too?
I don't want to talk about it. Hey, I had that one in the holster. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
when you double dutch, I'm like, okay, but you good. That was a good one.
So that one, I chose that one because it like spoke to me in like so many other ways. It actually made me reflect on my own journey when I was in solitude, and what it really meant to be like truly at peace with yourself. I think a lot of people fear being alone because they confuse it with being lonely. And I think the way we broke it down, in that episode, I felt like it was like healing almost in a sense. There was actually a quote from the actual episode. It was like, being alone is a choice, feeling lonely is a consequence. And that like stuck with me like crazy, because I was like, dang, like it challenged how I view solitude, like I agree that, being alone can be very empowering, right? But loneliness isn't always a consequence, right? Sometimes it's just a phase, that we're going through, what I'm saying, in life. And I think that was probably one of my favorite episodes, to one, be a part of, and actually be able to re-review and kind of go through it, and do a little bit more reflecting on what was spoken about in that episode. So Alone versus Lonely, different yet familiar, was a good episode for me. And it was a lot of self-reflecting that I was doing during the episode. So I think it was one for the books.
Well, besides the fact you just stole my thunder, you know what I'm saying? I'm over here scrolling.
You can talk about it too now. That was just one of them,
What's up, Marlon Winfrey? Good evening to you also. Dan, what I wanted to do and see, because one thing that I often think about as we're talking, there's always someone out there watching us for whatever reason, right? Don't have the strength or have been silenced in their truth in some of these conversations we talk about. And so if you can in your own way, because you mentioned that it touched you, like, is there anything that you are able to share or want to share to kind of drive that point home from a personal standpoint, like why that one specifically for you? Because what I want to do, like, as much as we want to entertain, I want to give people the voice to speak. Like, even if they don't speak to us, like, speak to somebody. And so I'm curious, that was yours right off the bat, like, to whatever you want to share, not putting you on the spot, but what makes you see yourself in that one, if you mind sharing?
There was like a point in my life where I had to kind of close myself off from like the world. And I think in that moment and in that time, I was kind of battling with like, I was battling with like, if I was actually alone, or if I was lonely, because there was times where I was in rooms with people that was like super close to me, and I felt extremely alone in those moments. Of course, they didn't realize it, right? Because I think a lot of that time too, when I was feeling alone, I wasn't very communicative and forthcoming with essentially how I was feeling in that time. So when I went into, when I isolated myself from the world, it kind of gave me a different perspective on what I actually was feeling. I actually was alone, right? In a room full of people. But I but other times, I think I felt lonely at the same time. So trying to define the two originally, I kind of thought they coincided, but after watching the episode and us kind of like breaking down the difference, I was able to I was able to go back in time in those moments where I thought I was lonely, but I was absolutely 100% just alone.
Yeah.
And I was able to do some growing at the time. So, and it was
Yeah.
pretty healing during the episode too, because hearing everybody else talk about it and, you know, in ways that it may have shaped them or how they viewed it, it just made me realize that we all can sometimes be a little bit confused about the difference of the two.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thank you for sharing that, man, because like I said, again, there are some people who probably don't even know, right? Because they're still reflecting on it. And so not only do we want to give a title and talk about it, but also hopefully give people the courage to say, just talk through it, you know, in that real time, you know. So I appreciate you being transparent right there. But yeah, sometimes being alone can cause loneliness. And I think that's the most dangerous. I think we talked about that's the most dangerous part when they're
Right.
working together and you're outside your body, you have an outside body experience. Like which one should I relate to? Is like one is dependent on the other one. So they all both feel like you can just kind of clump them together. And so I'm glad you was able to get something out of that personally, not on our audience. Ruth, I'm kind of scared to come to you. Look, Ruth told us before we started, I'm going to, you know, tell on you, you know what I'm saying, in front of America. She said, I said, do everybody got their little top five and everything? You notice I said, look, that's when you're going to be petty. I said, everybody got their top five? And you said, yeah, I got notes and everything. First of all, didn't nobody ask you for your notes and your questions and everything? So she's prepared, y'all. So I'm just going to sit up straight and, you know what I'm saying, as I come to her, and I'm going to brace myself. And if I fall off the screen, just give me a little time to come back. Blame it on Ruth. That's what I said. Jawan, good evening to you, man. I'm glad that you could be here with us, man. You've been a faithful follower, so we appreciate it. So yeah, man, I'm gonna get that disclaimer out there right now. You know what I'm saying? My skin go black and everything. It's on Ruth. So with Ruth, with that being said, throw us one of your top fives out there. The reason why, the topic, what you think, and you know, we'll pray to Jesus that we'll hold on. Hold on.
Okay, this directed directly at you.
Ah, we go within.
Can you hear me? But are you listening?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one that I really liked.
Talk to us about it. What was it about it that you liked?
Because a lot of times you could be talking to someone and you think they hear you, and it appears like they're hearing you, but are you really listening to what's being said? Or are you just hearing just to have a rebuttal? But do you really hear what's being said? And I think I heard this in counseling too. Like a lot of times, if you ask somebody to repeat back what they said to you, they can't repeat back what they said to you. And I'm guilty of that too. So
that listen to respond versus listen to understand.
A lot of times people do. Because a lot of times when you're talking to someone, you hear something and it's like, I can't wait to get my point across. I can't wait to say what I want to say. I can't wait to say what I want to say. I can't wait to say what I want to say. And you say that over and over and over again. And when you ask somebody, what did I just say? It's like, what? I want to tell you what I want to say. Because their point is more important, but you didn't hear what was just being said to you because your point is more important, but you didn't hear the key thing of what was being just said. So that's why that subject was, important to me. And I think sometimes you miss a lot of things that need to be said. You miss the clues of what somebody, you miss a lot of clues what somebody was trying to relate to you because you wasn't hearing. Right. And that's in all kind of relationships, friendship, kinships, all kind of ships,
Yeah, I remember in that episode. I think that's probably one of the most closely tied ones when we were talking about emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Oftentimes we are reacting based on how well or not so well we understand our own emotions, right? And so in those moments, kind of like you alluded to, we do it all the time when we're laughing and joking. It's like it's not as easy to dissect because it's a light conversation. But I think in those deep found conversations, when it's time to kind of, like you said, to kind of be attentive, we bring that actually over, and it's like, okay, eventually the topic, to your point, gets set aside, and now you're caught up in the emotion of this person thinking they understand, and this person dealing with the emotion of that they're not being heard. And so the actual issue has probably can take about 5 minutes, but it doesn't give a chance today. And now you're emotionally sparring. And so I see Jawan says still a struggle of mine. I think we all do to a certain extent, right? In this day and age where information just given to us quickly, and we're even taught that a quick response is the right response, right? How you doing today? Fine. No, you're not supposed to stop and actually say what your day is, right? So I do think it's something that we all should be mindful of, just slowing down, asking those follow-up questions, and then just making sure that we're communicating effectively, even when we're leading off with our own emotions. Like there are times where I know you don't know what I'm dealing with. I can't blame you if you ask a follow-up question, don't understand. And I'm probably could we really be trying to convey what I'm trying to say. But if I haven't taken the time, got my emotions straight, that's not your fault, right? I need to
Mhm.
go and get that together.
And a lot of people get offended when you ask them, if you're talking to somebody and you say, repeat back to me what I just said to you. They
Mm-hmm.
get offended. And it's not that you're trying to insult them, but you just want clarity, as if you're repeating back to make sure that you're relaying back what I just said to you. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you just want them to repeat back to make sure that it's actually what I'm saying to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Not to offend you. It's just so that what you heard me say is actually what it is that I'm saying. Because when they repeat back, it's like that's not what I'm saying to you. So I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to offend you. So if you repeat back to me, I can clarify that that's not what I'm saying to you. So it's just for clarity as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, if I'm talking to you and you're on your phone, and it's like, can you put your phone down? Because a lot of times
Mm-hmm.
when you're on your phone, you're not understanding what I'm saying too. Like, oh, I can hear you. Some people can't chew gum and listen at the
Mm-hmm.
same time. So a lot of times, if you're on your phone, I don't have your undivided attention.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, those are some good points, man. I think it's unfair to want someone to communicate the way we've learned if we haven't checked to see if it's okay. First pillar in emotional intelligence is self-reflection. And I think a lot of people don't do that. Like you can be justified in how you feel, but you can be wrong in how you deliver it. Right. Like say
Mhm.
again, if I had a bad day, I don't get on here and just kind of, spill it over you all. It's a certain way I gotta lay that out. But I think in this day and age where, we've broadened that gray area. It's not even more about right or wrong anymore. If you feel it, well, you should understand that person. No, there's still a correct way and an incorrect way to talk and communicate with people. So yeah, that one was. I think that one was probably one of my highlights also because it leans so much to emotional intelligence. I think that's one of those things we show up in society. We feel we've already arrived, and I know me as a creator. I always tell people my mind is down the road, around the corner, so I have to intentionally bring myself back. Like, James, you haven't shared none of that with nobody. Oh, okay. So yeah, it's one of those things that is good to continuing to be reflective on. And like I said again, Jawan, yeah, it's still a struggle. I think it's a struggle to all of us if we're honest at some point in time. So, were there any other points in that one, Ruth, that you wanted to bring out or you want to point out as we're reflecting? So we're talking about fan mail and flashbacks, man. We're recapping the road to season 5, man. We have 4 seasons up on us. If you don't know by now, you will know after tonight. Um, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, man. Go follow it. There is some great content out there. from these young ladies and from other people and guests that have been along this journey. We want to make sure, man, as we giving you all more, go get 4 seasons of great conversation where we try to have conversation between men and women, where they was together, not versus. We have, is that Church? I'm hoping CJL. He said your delivery when communicating sets the tone of the conversation. Yeah. The problem with it is a lot of times, and I think Ruth alluded to this, and I think it really is just a human error. We don't prepare to have conversations, especially when those emotions just come, right? Like even when we're having fun, think about it. We're technically talking over each other. We're not listening to each other. We're kind of going along. So that's why it's not diagnosed as some serious then. But I think when it gets to those serious points, we have been taught just to show it with the emotion, and the emotion guides the conversation instead of what you're saying, JL, the topic, the tone, and things of that sort. So I think that's a great reminder, is that we can have our emotions, but like you said, when delivering, your tone really sets the foundation of that. Down, go ahead.
Yeah. So I love how people say that when communicating, your tone sets up how the conversation is going to go. But I think a lot of times, depending on who's the one delivering the message, it don't matter what tone you give them. You can have the nicest tone, the shortest tone, the easiest tone, and they'll still find a way to deflect whatever it was you were saying, because now they're only focused on what you're saying and not how you're saying it. So I think the tone in certain scenarios don't necessarily matter, because depending on who's communicating, you're already on the defense anyway. So even if his or her voice was, even if the tone was set correctly, because it's factual and whatever they might be saying, and you're not listening to understand, you're listening to respond, you already ready to deflect anyway. So it doesn't even matter essentially whatever tone they're utilizing. I think that tone part of it is more of a misused and abused way to kind of get out of whatever the conversation is.
Yeah, and that's where the gaslighting shows up, and I think that's unfortunate, and that's a whole nother conversation, because you're right, you can do all these great things, but if the intention if the intention is already ill will, and you have a separate agenda, it's like, let's be honest, that adds on to the frustration, right?
Yep.
I know if I'm ready to have a serious conversation, I've checked my T's, crossed my I's. Dotted my I's and crossed my T's. And then you just it's like, so tone is a great foundation, but you can destroy that foundation with the gaslighting, where it's just like you're just ducking and dodging, no accountability. And at that time, you might get that other side of Lil J Hester. Hey, man. Ken and Boss, man, y'all better go follow the 5 sessions.
Like boom, right there.
Been there since A1 Day 1. Power man. Shout out Homecoming. We getting ready to kick it, man. Hope to see you there, man, here in a couple of weeks. Boss says some folks listen to respond and not to understand, so it won't matter how you say it. Exactly the point. And so that's why I always say, put asterisk by these things. Like, we have to have a foundation of how we dialogue with each other. But then, to Diana's point, don't get yourself caught up, because see, you can go in someone's storm. And I would say, you can come in my peace, but I won't go in your storm. Some people want you to feel miserable. Hurt people, whatever analogy you want to use. And they're not trying to pay attention to anything that's positive, anything that's solution oriented. Their agenda really is, like you said, it don't matter if you whispered it, said it like Charlie Brown's parents or whatever. Got their next one, like Ruth said. And so at that time, man, I was about to give some advice that was gonna be ugly. But get yourself around people like that. Because you can really run yourself crazy and fault yourself, like, what's wrong with me? And that, like, I've been there before, and it's like, you just gaslight me, and now I feel bad for doing what's right, and you going about your business. Never again. Devil is a lie. All right. Okay. Well, that was okay. I mean, I don't got no war wounds and nothing, no webs and nothing. So, yeah, we got through that one. You know what I'm saying? We got to circle back. I'm a little nervous about that, but okay. Um, yeah, one of my favorites was, and it was probably one of the hardest ones, the 5 stages of relational grief.
Mm.
Transparent moment with our audience. Even after we debrief, I remember us talking about it was a challenging
Yeah.
one to get through, far as setting the tone, what we're trying to get out of it. But I do think, having said that, we did a good job in addressing it, because I think a lot of time when we think of grief, we think of loss,
Yes.
right? Death or whatnot. And unfortunately, there are times we have lost the person, but still is in the relationship. So we're grieving inside the relationship. And boy, that was just heavy saying that.
Yeah.
Like, we've lost that person years ago and we stay for the time. So we tack on another 15. And all that 15 years, we're grieving and we're blaming the other person because they're still there. It's like that person is gone. They checked out or whatnot. You're staying for a business decision or whatever. And so that one was a very challenging one. But I remember us kind of exegeting the stages of grief as it relates in a relationship. You know, that first detachment, the fear of the memories, you know, the fond memories, trying to get those fond memories back. We go through all that with sometimes people who are living, unfortunately. And we don't, it's hard to admit, because guess what? We're just working it out. No, I'm just working. I mean, no, you're not. That thing I'm been checked out. You're just existing. And so we talked about the healthy and unhealthy ways, because yeah, there's a parallel between wanting to work it out, you know, and sometimes it may take time, versus am I just wasting my time and I'm grieving a person that's no longer there. They've changed their mind for whatever reason, and I'm just kind of existing, hoping that person will get back to who they are. And so that was one of mine that stuck out. Like I said, I remember behind the scenes where, you know, no one kind of felt yeah, nay, or where it went. But I think the more and more, at least with me, I'll speak for myself, the more and more I chewed on it, it was challenging to try to address it, because again, our minds are default to, when you're talking about grief, you're talking about losing someone or death. But yeah, that was one for me. Juwan said, that's facts. I catch myself hearing something from the other person that I may not have liked, and then I'm stuck on that rather than listening to what is being said. Juwan, you literally just exposed, and I appreciate the transparency. And that's why I said what emotional intelligence is so important about. Like, that's not just a jingle word. We usually arrive with our emotions. And so now, whatever Ruth is saying is a trigger. I'm not listening to understand. And like I said, we all do it, sometimes more than others. But yeah, when we arrive in a conversation with our emotion, to your point, you're just listening for a trigger. And as soon as that trigger go off,
that's it.
Whatever else you said, it's shut down, go to bed. And now I got to insert what my triggers are. I mean, I think what's interesting about that, Juwan, I wonder if sometimes we even go back and check our emotions. Like, you know, that wasn't a root thing. That's how you felt, but that wasn't a her thing, right? Because you can have an emotion, but you can have an emotion at the wrong time. Or you can have an emotion that could be just an incorrect emotion. Like, that wasn't Ruth's intention. So I appreciate that transparency and understand how sometimes we can enforce our emotions in, and it breaks that communication altogether. So you guys got any feedback on that?
Yeah, so the only thing I was going to say to that line too was I think you pretty much said it too, when you're saying like the only reason why you're probably deflecting or you're upset about something that I said and you're more stuck on what it was I said and not how I said it is because it was a fact. You know, most times when somebody calls you out about something, accountability, right? Because God knows that's so foreign. And you're being held accountable about something, then the deflection is your first line of defense, or to call out in some way that the other person, made you feel. But like you said, it's not a them problem. It's a you problem. That's how you're feeling in that moment. I didn't put a gun in your head and tell you to feel that way. You did that. You felt that way because what I said was triggering, and it was a fact. So it bothered you in the worst way.
Ruth, what do you do when you see someone has lost or forgotten the goal of a conversation? A goal of a conversation should be agree to disagree, clarity, healing, resolution, all those things. But I think sometimes we have conversation, or I've witnessed this. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to, like, how do you address that yourself if you come into a conversation where you're really trying to clarity, resolution, whatever it is, and you soon realize that this person is not about even a topic, it's about that ego. It's I can't be wrong, or what have you. Like, how do you handle those situations in your personal opinion?
Truthfully, I shut down. Me personally, I shut down. If I know that you're trying to win, I shut down. I don't say anything. I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but a lot of times I have to shut down
Yeah.
because I don't know how to. I don't know how to go from 1 to 5. I go from 1 to 1,000,000.
I got you.
So I have to. I shut down.
Hold on. You ain't gonna just slip that in there like that. You ain't just gonna drop that out. You know, give me that again now. I need to take some darn notes tonight. I don't want to even cross you. You don't go from 1 to 10. You go from 1 to
1,000,000.
You play too much. But you
So,
know what?
but sometimes that's some people know their points. I'm not there yet. What I mean by that is, so I have to shut down. So, and it's
Yeah.
best. That's best for me. So instead of for me going toe to toe with you, I would have to like just be quiet. Give me my moment because there's no, and especially who you are. It all depends on who you are. So if I
Mm-hmm.
care about you, I'm going to be quiet just because there's no, if I care about you, there's no winner. So I need to be quiet. So I'm just going to be quiet. And that's best. So I'll be quiet.
When you gave your response, I thought about um the term fight or flee.
Mm-hmm.
If you taken any type of psychology, went to any counseling, you understand that fight or flee is not neither a good or a bad thing. It is just a simple reaction that we all find ourselves when we feel threatened, pushed, or whatever you want to say. And I kind of go back to something Diana said is like, then the other person comes in and they staple whether it's right or wrong. Well, no, in that moment, because I'm like that also. Like when I feel overwhelmed, because I start people call it mansplaining or
Over
explaining. That's a trigger from when I went through when I grew up in my childhood. I grew up in an abusive household, so it makes me feel like a very nasty person. I'm just being transparent. Very nasty person at moment to where I want to kind of hide myself. So my quietness is me shrinking in all transparency. It has nothing to do with you at that point, and that's dangerous. And that's why I love you said that first word, because how now can we have an engaged conversation if I've shut down?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't penalize me, right? Because like you said, you're there to have a conversation, but if you're not listening, you're trying to win the conversation, I shut down. I'm with Dan on what she said a while ago. Well, all the good stuff that went out the window, right?
Yeah.
I have to deal with it myself. There is no longer any space for you.
Right. And then
It's a real thing.
so you shut down because I don't want to say something that I have to or I'll regret and I can't come from. So I shut down because it's not worth me having to piddle paddle and come back and say, I didn't mean that, because I can explain to you and say, I didn't mean that, because you're going to think like you said it, so you meant it. So it's best that I just be quiet and just give me some moments that I can talk to you rationally when I calm down, or when I can speak, that I can talk to you and not at you.
Yes.
Yeah. See, we're having two conversations now. You're thinking I'm responding to you, but no, I'm responding to my own disgust or my own thing.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this, and I know we laugh and joke. You got to be careful and can continue to vet your circle, because I think a lot of this is like, if I let my homeboy do it and he cool and he get away with it, but then this person do the same thing, well, now I want to clap back. Like, we have to be very transparent when we have those moments. Because, man, people will play you. Like, people will, like you just said, people will see that, then they'll try to gaslight you and use that. Oh, so you saying this. And they won't give you a time in a real moment. Like, you just know, hey, I gotta calm down and be quiet. And they won't give you that time. And then when you do something that's out of character, it's like now you hooked. And I think that's so unfair. And so we go again. That's why emotional intelligence, understanding ourselves, sometimes we got to just get out of there. It can get critical.
And what some people don't understand, some people will judge you and say what you doing being quiet is not normal. But what people don't realize is that they may judge you and think that that's not normal, but they don't realize that you've done the work, that part of you being quiet, that's the counseling in you, that you've done the work, and that's the counseling part of you that counseling have taught you. Be quiet, take time out. Because when I just said that I go from 0 to 1,000,000, that's me in counseling telling me to be quiet, don't say anything. So I can't tell you that that's actually me putting in the work, because I used to go 0 to 1,000,000 and chop your head off.
Right.
I was told to be quiet, that every action don't reserve cause for you to react. So be quiet.
Be still.
Exactly. Be still and be quiet, and just wait it out. So I'm waiting it out. But then people that don't really understand that want me to talk. But if I talk, then I'll say something that I'm not supposed to say.
Right.
Bro, you be making me nervous sometimes. I just want to kind of tell that out there to the world and be honest about that. No, I'm just kidding. But what you're talking about is that second pillar. Once you self-reflect, now you got to be aware. And that's what I think people, Lord have mercy, I ain't gonna preach, but that's where a lot of people they take for granted that when you're aware, you know how you're gonna respond and whatnot. Now they smash the gas. And then, like, after that, it's like, yeah, it's over, So yeah, when you see people kind of collecting themselves, trying to de-escalate, and they are aware of who they are, even if you don't agree with it, like, get out of there, man. Don't assume that person, like Diana said, is just gonna, well, I'm gonna sit there and try to lay the foundation and try another tone forever. Like, it don't go that way. Like, let's just be real. Sometimes the clap back can get real, and so respect people who are trying to stay in themselves. So, man, that was a good one. We kind of almost had another podcast with that one by itself. So Diana, I think we back on you. We've been doing some good reminiscing, fan mail, and flashback, recapping the road to season 5. Season 5 is embarking up on us. So we just taking the time tonight, man, just thanking our fans, man, for chiming in, just like they're chiming in tonight, man, allowing us to build 4 seasons of great content. And so, man, we're just kind of reminiscing, just seeing what we thought was our favorite ones, just reminiscing on these topics. And so, with that being said, Dan, I know you had you stole my fur. I don't know where that came from, but what's another topic you found that was one of your top 5?
Yeah. So another topic that I really liked was breaking the silence, understanding why men struggle to express their unhappiness. I enjoyed that topic because the men that were on the cast at the time, they were very vulnerable and open to kind of talk about their why, essentially on why they struggle to open up or communicate. And I think it's so important for men to be supported, right, emotionally, as the same way we support women. I think men deserve that also because they carry a lot, and having that conversation just kind of made me realize how much men carry silently. Um, and I think the norm for both parties at the time was because they said something to a partner, and the partner had thrown it back in their face. So essentially, they didn't want to communicate anything else outside of that because, you know, in the moment that they were vulnerable, it was thrown back at them, which is understandable to an extent. But I did also tell them too, like, you know, not every partner is going to be like that. I understand that, you know, that was a wound, you know, essentially that you had from previous partners, but I don't think it's fair that, you know, you bring that into other relationships because not every partner obviously is the same unless you didn't learn the lesson before.
Yeah.
There was a quote too from that
Oh,
one.
yeah. Quote.
It was like, men don't talk because the world doesn't listen. And it blew
Mm.
my mind because I'm like, dang, that's so crazy. Because most times when conversations are being had between men and women, most times the man is like extremely silent and the woman is just like going in, going in, going in. So he's kind of taking, you know what I'm saying, it all in. And then the one time that he's ready to have a conversation and, you know, talk about, you know, a vulnerable moment for him, uh 3 days later, you know, it's brought up again. So I think it's a very sucky moment that men believe the world doesn't listen. I think there's plenty of safe spaces that are available for men, but because they've been wounded so much in their past and haven't seek therapy, um, they haven't been able to repair that. But that, I thought that was a beautiful episode. So
Yeah. Um, I think the irony of that conversation is that as a black man, we're told to be expressive,
mm,
and as soon as we are, it's weaponized. And to your point, it's weaponized simply based off gender.
mm,
Like sometimes it's said, well, she's a woman.
yeah,
You understand she's emotional. It's like,
right,
well, what are these things I'm feeling, right? So it's a catch
mm,
22.
yeah,
Um, and I want to make sure I preface this. By no means am I justifying men's reactions, negative reactions. But if you ever want to see a man go to 0 to 60, have him open up in that space that he finally trusted to say, and you shut him down or you weaponize him. That is just a vulnerable feeling that it's unexplainable because it's so against what we're taught. We're taught being a man is to be hard and and so when we finally watch this, quit being a man, oh my goodness, you have unlocked the keys to Pandora's box. And so I think sometimes there are some women who intentionally throw gas on that fire. And so yeah, that one's a very hard one.
mm,
I remember talking to a good friend before that show, and I was talking to her about the topic. And long story short, she caught me apologizing because I was apologizing out of the mindset thinking I'm gonna offend a woman audience.
mm,
And so for her as a woman to catch me, she was like, quit apologizing because you're
yes,
playing what you truthfully feeling.
mm,
And that blew my mind. I'm like, it's built in
right,
to swallow our emotions because it's out of respect. And when
mm,
she called that out as a woman, I'm just like, oh wow, you know. So yeah, definitely a powerful one. We have Becky Hensley. My apologies, Becky. Ruth LaShawn Coleman, such a great teacher. She used her whole name. You know what I mean? Such a great teacher, listener, advocate, and friend. World's great. Boom, pow.
Thank you.
All right, Miss Hensley, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to clear out my whole friends list.
Thank you.
And look, and she stamped it with an amen. You can't get mad after an amen with the prayer hands. You can't. Nothing else you can say. You know. No, she is a godsend. It's second nature. I think Jawan was talking about that actual sundown as men. Let me say, I want to make sure I didn't miss anybody's comments. You guys, we appreciate, there goes one. We appreciate your comments, and so we'll try to get to them. Oh, True Boo is back. What? Boo. When a woman compares a man's feeling to that of a woman would or should feel like, oh my God. Oh, True Boo, you gonna start a whole nother podcast. I'm interested in hearing what the females on the show think about that. I think one thing that I found just in having conversation with Dan and Ruth individually is that they do a good job of seeing the other side. Like they don't all the time arrive just with the gender fight. And so I'm interested before I come into that. Like, Ruth, what do you think? Like for when a man opens up with his feelings, and you see some women just compare to their or shrink it down to theirs. Just in your own way, what do you think that leaves that man like from an emotional standpoint? How you think that leaves him feeling?
Explain that again.
So a lot of times, like when we explain something or we open up to our feelings with a woman, some women take it and put it in their translation of emotion, right? So for example, one that just comes to the top of my head, let's say if we're talking about child rearing, there are some women who believe the coddling and whatnot and what have you, versus if a man comes in and want to be more authoritative and a more structured, she'll look at it through her lens of no, don't do that to my baby boy while asking, be a man to my child. So now you taking my thought process as a man and you hitting it up under just your understanding. Like you didn't step outside yourself and see where I was coming from as a man. Does that make sense?
It does.
Just using that as an analogy, but a lot of times that happens, we're coming from a man's standpoint. And if you ask me, I can only come from a black man's standpoint, right? Like I've never been a woman.
Okay. I can't, if we're talking and I'm a woman, I can't speak from a man's point of view. I can only speak from my point of view. But if you're asking me a question or if you do something, I'm going to speak from my point of view. I'm going to speak from my point of view. And it's not to downplay you. But and I hope I'm saying this correctly. But if you and I are talking or we're engaging in a conversation, and if you do something, if you ask me my opinion, just like you just said, raising a child or the term that you used, if you ask me my opinion, I'll give you my opinion. And if you're doing something, and I'll give you my opinion. If you just said raising a child or something, if it's our child, and if you're doing something that I don't agree with, I'll tell you that I don't agree with that. But I'm not trying to downplay you, and I'll tell you that I'm not trying to downplay you. But if you ask me my opinion on something that you're doing, I'll give you my opinion. But it's not to downplay you or anything like that. But sometimes I think with men, if a man can give you his opinion on something, and when you give him your opinion, sometimes I think men get in their feelings. If they quick to give you their opinion on something, but then when you give them their opinion, then they get in their feelings. That's how sometimes I see it. If I'm hearing that correctly.
Yeah, so I think to what O2 Boo is saying is a lot of time people want to hear their answer through you. And I think that's what's confusing sometimes with men. And again, we want to preface some women already have their thought and how they want that guy to respond. And when he don't respond that way, they flip it.
Okay.
And so you're standing there as a guy, like, and this is honest truth. Should I lie now? because there's no value in truth. Like if my truth makes you flip the script and what have you, there is only one thing left, right? So it's one of those things I think what Otubu is referring to is like we can't read minds, right? There are sometimes, just like when women are going through certain things, we just got to give that space and say, let me understand, right? Like this is not a place where I stand. Let me understand. I think sometimes that's not reciprocated when it comes to a man. You're really just asking, hey, go along with what I already have in my head. And when he doesn't, it's like all hell breaks loose. Again, some women, not all.
Well, couldn't the same be said for the man?
Yeah.
Well, see, but that's the key right there. Is like, and that's why I asked you all to go first, because oftentimes when we're putting ours out, well, of course it can, right? But I'm talking about me, like that. What they call, that's bait and switching, right? It's like, but we're not talking about me right now, right? Like even if a man gets something wrong, think about it, it's really a human thing, but in the context of men, it goes to show we're not allowed these spaces without having to provide these qualifiers. So if I lead off and say this, well, what about me? I shouldn't have to give a disqualifier. Of course, that's the give, but we're talking about me. And I think sometimes that can be the frustration of men, especially black men. It's like, can we just have a space to stand in our truth? Right? Like we're not celebrated and taught that. And I think a lot of time, and I say some, when we're asked to do so, that bait and switch is there. And it's like, on Mondays at 8 o'clock, I have this brotherly check-in, and I'll be transparent. A lot of what we talk about, we appreciate that space because everywhere we go, it's the switch. Like we have to go second. It's like, well, where do we go first with our emotions? Because then when it builds up and comes out, well, that's wrong. So it's like, can we just speak our truth and our emotions without qualifying it? Of course, we're talking to you. Of course, you matter. Of course, your concerns matter, but we shouldn't have to give that qualifier every time, it's time for us to, to share our truth.
Well, yeah, I agree. You shouldn't. But that goes back to my favorite saying, what you allow will continue. So if you're in a space where you feel like you have to do that every time, then it sounds like it's not a space you need to
Yeah.
be in.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you said that, because again, we have been taught, work it out. No, when it's unhealthy for your mindset, like everyone is not walking around to be qualified to be a counselor. And you shouldn't have to be a counselor in any capacity in your relationship.
Right.
You should be the person's mate. And so, to your point, don't assume that responsibility. You going down the rabbit hole. Like sometimes you got, and I wouldn't even say move around. Sometimes step back. But if you have to, not for me. But I think we talked about that one. Dan, it's like, or let's work it out. Some things that I don't have the skill set to work on that. You got to go lay on the couch over there. And it's not being funny. It's like, that's not my profession, right? I want to be a friend or whatever, counsel or whatnot. Oh, okay. We back on. We back. Hold on. I took my seatbelt off because it wouldn't root turn. So we back now. Okay. Well, Ruth, okay. Do I need to go get my helmet? Because I got my helmet just in case. Am I good without my helmet?
Okay.
Oh, Lord, praise the Lord. No, seriously, man. We fan mail flashbacks, recapping the road to season 5. We're just going around talking about what our favorite shows are. And so that was a good one. I remember that one vividly. And so now we on Ruth. I think she's sharing her second one. So Ruth just joined us, so she was able to get a lot of objectivity. So I'm ready to listen to you. Which one you got for us now?
Why we throw people away too quickly.
I don't even have to look that one up. I still feel that one. Talk to me.
I picked that one because music is my love. So I love music, and I listen to music all the time. So music take me away from here. So I had a friendship. I had a friendship. We were friends for years, right? And so this song that I was listening to, it just took me back, and it made me think about females, you know, friendships that I've had with females. But when I was listening to the podcast, it was just talking about how sometimes, like, a lot of women just, women take a lot of things from men. They can go through things over and over again, and they can forgive and forgive and whatever. But the minute that there's a misunderstanding between you and another woman, they just throw the friendship away. And I don't care how long that y'all been friends, y'all just end the friendship. But you don't end the friendship with a man like that. You don't end that. So you just quickly, not to make it right, but it's like we're so quick to throw a friendship away of 30 something years without no clarification, without no, why did we mess this up? We just throw it away. And it just made me reflect on that. Like, why do we throw people away so quickly and end it without, saying why? Everybody's not disposable, So that made me reflect on that. Why do we throw people away so quickly?
Elaborate on quickly.
Well, just not without clarity, without getting an understanding as to why. If we're friends for so long, why not understand why didn't I show up? Because you and I may not have come to your party. I really could have been, life could have been lifing the hell out of me. So instead of wondering like, why didn't I come to your party? Ask me, why didn't I come to your party? Because life could have been lifing me. So don't not throw me away because I didn't come to your party. But this man who knocked you upside the head 3 different times and had a baby on you, you didn't throw him away. So I didn't come to a party. Why didn't you check on me to see why didn't I come to your party? We've been friends for 40 something years. That wasn't worth you checking on me. That's all I'm saying. Because some friendships are, mean more than that.
Right. Yeah, so I totally understand that. My take on that, in regards to years, I think a lot of times we look at the time that we were in these ships, but not the quality of the time that was in those ships. How many years of the time in that ship was of quality? And I think a lot of times women are, I think there's this battle between, I guess, where their loyalty lies when it comes to, like you said, stand with a man for, whatever amount of years, and he does all these evil things to you, but I'm over here going through a hardship, and you're upset because I didn't show up for you one time out of the 25 million times I've shown up for you. But I think sometimes we get lost in the time, not the quality of the time. That's why I was asking, when you say throw them away, elaborate on, the time that we're talking about. So
Right. And that's what I mean. Some people get upset by you don't communicate. You don't communicate effectively to see. And I'm just going to be honest and put it out there. Menopause, hello, will have you going through some things. So
yeah,
I'm not subscribing to a lot of different things.
Right.
So be a friend and ask me, why am I not doing XYZ? Let me communicate that effectively with you. Because sometimes life is lifing. Let us communicate. But I know that I'm one hell of a friend.
Yes.
So don't discredit me, because sometimes the strong needs to be carried sometimes.
Amen.
So with that being said, don't ever discredit me, because if you put a garbage can on me, a lid on me, don't come back and pick me up. You feel what I'm saying? Because if you because I know my worth. So if you put the lid on me and say, I don't want to be your friend, but I know that Mark is over here, you've carried him, and keep the lid on me. I don't want you to pick me back up. But that's not to say that I'm not going to love you. I'm still going to love you from afar, but you don't have to pick me back up. But I'm just saying, we throw people away quickly. Now, if you tell me, Ruth, you've been messing with my mental, I can respect that. But sometimes I think we throw friendships away real quickly. And that shouldn't be. But you see females doing that. You don't see a lot of men doing that. Not that I'm not a man, so I don't know. But you don't see a lot of men say, "Oh, I stopped messing with him because you know what, he didn't show up at my party." You don't see that. You see a lot of females do that. That's all I'm saying.
Emotions and then logic.
So I want to get Lachey Henderson. She says women will put you down and throw you away for a guy they just met. And here's the thing, and to Lachey's point, I find it ironic that we try to have a conversation that's not there when we have gender, when we put gender in it, because we're humans. I think the deeper issue is that we are afraid of conflict resolution, or we don't know how to have conflict resolution. So by osmosis, if it just so happened to be a man, or if it just happened to be a woman in the roles they play in my life, then that means that should be a default, right? And that's not the case. When you think about whether I'm in a relationship, whether 20 standing year friendship, whether it's man or woman or whatever, can you resolve conflicts correctly? You said something that was important, Ruth, like, let's it's for my peace of mind. But there's still a proper way of doing that. You don't have to throw someone away. There's still a resolution to be had. Oh, when I said that, that triggers you. Okay, I won't say it no more. 5 minutes. I really think that we don't look deep enough and say, do I even know how to do this? But I expect it. And everyone likes to show up knowing that, I know how to deal with my emotions. I know how to do conflict resolution, but no, we don't. We default on these things that the world tells us. You hang on to the guy or the girl because guess what? Hey, sex, money, or whatnot. That friendship, you can replace it. Outside, it looks that way. And unfortunately, to your point, you lose valuable friendships. But I think what's missing in all of it is like, do we really know how to have conflict resolution with the those that are close with us? 20 years don't mean we know how to do it.
Right.
We could have just been avoiding and we just been cool. And maybe the road to where now it's something that like, no, I can't let that pass. But if you never have those conversations, I think that's the sad reality of why we just throw people away. Not only for the other person, that's hurtful, but you lost an opportunity to get better, right? So we pride ourselves on putting the gender in there and making the gender a thing, but I think it plays against us. Ann Smith said, "Yes, ma'am, you're right." She hallelujah somebody. O2 Boo, is it a friendship or a convenience? See, and that's see you. He be starting whole other podcast topic.
That's what I want to talk about. So back to what Ruth was saying about females of gender, whatever, but I'm a female, so I can say it. I think the issue too is the accountability, right? So a lot of times we are friends, and there are certain areas that we just don't cross in. Well, some, not all. My friends know I hold them very accountable. I will call you out. You know what I'm saying? We'll have a conversation and we'll move on. But there are certain dynamics where, like Jay was saying, if you call a person out, on, like, say your friend called you and was like, "Girl, why didn't you show up to my party?" Whatever. You know what I'm saying? Depending on how that conversation went down, you were, life was life, and you might crash out. I'm not saying you're going to, because you say at one point you was going 1 to 1,000,000. So your friend doesn't know that. Does your friend know that life was life? You get what I'm saying? Because, like, I think a lot of times we get into these spaces where life just be moving. You know what I'm saying? And there are important factors in our life where we do want the ones closest to us to be there. You get what I'm saying? And this is obviously just an example because you said a birthday party, right? So your friend had a birthday party. She invited you. Communication. Hey, I'm not gonna be able to make it. Life is life. And then boom, you know what I'm saying? Now you never got thrown away because somebody actually communicated why you couldn't make it to the party. you know. But I think most times we just get into those spaces where it's like, well, I should be able to just like, you know, have my moment in life. And, you know, if your friend is not aware, right, aware of your dynamic or your scenario, because this is your friend, right? And like you said, life is life. And so most times your friends kind of know when life is life in, you know?
But let me say this. If you're suffering, and I'm just hypothetical,
Right. Mm-hmm.
if you're suffering from depression or whatever,
Right.
if this friend is checking on you or just whatever,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you would have known that I'm suffering from depression
And
and I'm
that's
about
what I'm
to jump
saying.
off the cliff. If this
Right.
friend have known this, that friend would have probably, I'm not saying cancel your party, but
Right.
sometimes if you're in tune with a person,
Exactly.
you would have already known this.
Mhm.
But that's
Absolutely.
just kind of what I'm saying. But
Right.
sometimes, and I've been there before, sometimes
Mhm.
a person don't even know that you're even going through because they're so warped in their own thing that they
Exactly.
don't even know that you're going through. But here's
Mhm.
the thing. If I'm going through like that, I'm not even worried about your party. Because, like, remember I said,
Right.
life is life in me.
Right.
I'm not
Right.
trying to be funny. The hell with your party, because I'm still trying to
Right.
stay above water. You partying, and I'm trying to live life to try to get through. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's not about a party. Sometimes, you know, I'm trying to live life. So, like Lachey get it. So, you know, sometimes people are selfish, and
Mhm.
that's my whole point, you know.
But I also think there's an opportunity to do some self-reflection, because I think a lot of time we assume that just because we're a good person, all of our processes are good.
Right.
And that's just not the case. You can very much well be dysfunctioning, laughing and joking and hanging out, because there's nothing within that context cause you to have to test that. It's usually when there's a negative or resistance, a different opinion, where you have to test those things. And so a lot of times we as good people and good friends, we think we're being a good friend by holding that back and not allowing the other person to see the full context. Like we cherry
Mhm.
pick. And the reality of it is, like, that person do not understand. And now that time where they need to understand the whole arch,
Right.
yeah, we holding back, but like that's unfair. And so I think someone said it, like, we really do get caught up with the time and
Mhm.
don't really look at the context of it.
Right. Right.
Because like you said, think about when life happens. And
Mhm.
oftentimes when someone is wrong, they know they're wrong. We can identify that. But I just think it's something to be said to us good people. Sometimes,
Yes.
yeah, we have the great idea,
Mhm.
and you mean well, but your process can be stinky too.
Right.
Ann said, I feel I'm a good friend. You feel that way? And okay, well, if you say
She
you feel
is.
that way, I get that make you a better friend because you feel that way. Go
Now
figure.
she is a good friend.
First of all, the cosign, you know what I'm saying?
And I
She's
co-sign. Go
right.
ahead on. Okay.
Okay, good friend, Ann Smith. Let me read your statement. Good friend Ann Smith said, I feel I'm a good friend. I also know when I'm going through, I get quiet to myself. That sounds familiar. That's only because I don't want to spill over on someone. And there goes that second part of emotional intelligence,
Mhm.
self awareness. When I know what I need to do for me, don't take it personal. It's really for your benefit, and that's not even being funny. Like, when if I go and I get quiet, I'm not acting funny. That's probably saving me from doing something that I don't want to do. And I think we don't give credit to people like that. Like I said, we press the button and we make that person. It's like, no. Like Ann said, hey, I'm gonna just be quiet. I don't want to spill over. But hell, you keep tapping me, I done spilled over. Now I'm on everything, you know. So I
Right.
think that's to be respected for his emotional intelligence. A good friend, Ann Smith, I always so said,
Mhm.
sometimes I don't have the capacity to come on and preach. Sometimes I don't have the capacity to take on
Yeah.
other people's stuff. I'm trying to figure out myself. I used to have
Mhm.
a bad habit of that. Oh, I got to
Mhm.
take on everybody. Problem if the phone ring, text come through. If they
Mhm.
knock on that door, I got
Please.
to take on everybody.
That's me,
Problem.
man.
Those who be everything to everyone become nothing to no one. I live by
Right.
that statement. So that's gold right there. Sometimes it is okay. You hear that, friends? It's not personal. That we're not tripping. I just got something I'm dealing with. You got to go find somebody else. All right, good friend Ann Smith. And then let's
Yeah.
say accountability comes with maturity.
Absolutely.
And boy, if I could add on to that, and maturity don't come with age. We have to show up every
Go
day
wrong.
practicing this. And I think that's the vulnerability route that I think a lot of relationships don't give each other in any capacity. Can I show up and work on this with you? Because there's no way you and I can get good at conflict resolution if we don't work on it. My conflict resolution with my frat brother is different than my relationship. In my relationship, can we arrive, going back with the saying, instead of throwing me away, let's work on this. Let's model this. Let's not sit here, hey, Dan, you got it wrong. With Jane, you got it wrong. Well, let's perfect it.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Take your time. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it's a very nuanced thing when we're talking about throwing people away. Sometimes you just got to get people and move around. But there are times we got to do our homework. Becky Hensley says sometimes people don't know how to not take it personally. Lord have mercy. Sometimes it feels like their problems are more superior than others.
Selfish.
Yeah, that's a very dangerous person to be around, where you have no ability to go first. And that's why I say throw the genders and stuff away. Everybody go through, man. Like, and no such thing as who go first. It's about if I give you that privilege of putting mine aside and allowing you to come in, can I get that back? Reciprocation. And I think what Becky is looking for. So.
Oh, so one more thing too on the throwing away people dynamic. So there are moments where I think you can throw away a person without, kind of telling them, because
why did I know you for the circle back around?
You know what you did. You get what I'm saying?
Jesus Christ. What do you say, Don?
Sometimes the why is not needed. There's scenarios where people know exactly what it is they're doing. And the more you give them grace, the more they're going to do it. Right? Yeah. You can give them, all right, the first time, all right, I'm gonna let you slide. Because maybe you didn't know what it was you were doing. But after that, it is a choice. So am I going to choose to continue to allow you to do these things to me and keep you around because we known each other for so many years? No, there are certain scenarios where communication is not needed. What's understood don't need to be explained. I'm just going to go ahead and move around.
Yeah.
You knew what you were doing.
And look, on a serious note, everybody make their own decision, but I always say, and I always tell people, certain things, safety and security, there are no do-overs. And I'm not just talking about the physical part. Look, if someone's emotional abuse, verbal abuse, like there's no starting over that. Because it warrants too much trauma that you can potentially have to deal with later on. It's too much. And some people never recover from that. So that's why I say it's a very nuanced thing. Like, we're not trying to say either or. But there are just some times that look, they were the wolf in sheep clothing. But when it comes to the safety and security, and I want to state that again, it cannot just be the physical. That's the obvious. But a lot of time we stay around and people talking to us bad and whatnot, then we never gain that self-confidence again. And now, that's where how hurt people start hurting people. But yeah, so if it comes to that safety and security, like there's no do-overs with that, in my humble opinion. Man, that was a good one, man. Like, we done kind of went down through there. It's 8:14 fan mail and flashbacks, recapping the road to season 5. Again, you guys, thank you for joining in. What we're just pretty much doing, just recapping, man. 4 seasons, man. Get out there and follow us. Apple Music, Spotify, please go follow us. Go share. Go like us. All of this helps us to bring you a powerful season 5, and so we love doing it for you guys. We love hearing you guys' comments. And what I'm gonna do is kind of allow everybody to give like just one more. I know we didn't get to our whole 5. As you can see, we have some great content out there, but I can't stress again, a good friend, Ann Smith, and I'm gonna announce you every time I see you on Facebook and everything. I'm just gonna go up on your page and just put good friend Ann Smith, because I was told by Ruth that's who you are. Lachey, you guys. Make sure you go follow us on whatever platform that you're on. YouTube, we're out there also. And so with that being said, Diana, you got one more for it that kind of stuck out for you as you looked over our season 4 seasons of work.
Guys, it's so hard because I can only give one other one. All right, so obviously this
You get
one,
the, you get the one.
this one was one of our newer ones. Actually, I think we just did this one like 3-4 weeks ago, which was rewriting the narrative about suicide. I think that one was like super. I think it was like super touching, right? Because that one reminded me of why I voice so much stuff now. Because as somebody who has been in that place, oh, thank you, Becky. Somebody who has been in that space, and being able to actually talk about it, and hopefully be a window for other people to be able to come forward and communicate about it. I think that was very much needed, because it's one of those topics that is not talked about as much. And there was also a quote from that one, and it was, "Sometimes silence feels safer than explaining your pain."
Say that
And
again.
sometimes silence feels better than explaining your pain. And it resonated with me because I was silent for a very long time, um, because I didn't want to feel whatever it was I was going through. And I think for a hot minute, I didn't know how to explain it to people because I didn't feel like they would understand. So I was just kind of trying to just kind of like go through it, um, in isolation, right? So that I didn't have to actually express it. So, but I loved that episode, and that was
What,
probably gonna be like my number one, honestly.
what made you find your voice? Because sometimes silence can go along so long it becomes deafening. But and again, if you mind sharing, um, what would you say made you find your voice to hear yourself?
So I'm not saying this episode in itself did that. You
Okay.
know, as a kid, I was silenced a lot. So
Okay.
I went through a great part of my life not really talking.
Okay.
When I say talking, like standing up for myself in a sense, or communicating how I felt, I kind of just bottled everything up inside, and whatever everybody wanted to do or whatever everybody needed, I was kind of like, yeah, yeah, sure, 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 whatever you say. It wasn't until I got into that dark place, before we talked about the episode, when I was like, oh man, nobody really knows what's going on with me because I never communicated it to anybody, what I was going through. And when I was standing on that cliff that day, in on my vacation, I realized in that moment that even my friend, she was there with me, um, because I never communicated that to her or anybody else. There wasn't really a way for them to save me. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I never opened the space to communicate that. So, um, in that moment and in that time, I realized that I needed to express myself more, be more open, be more communicative to everybody for them to know what's going on with me, because I was always everybody's outlet. You know what I'm saying? So it was very foreign for me to be able to express how I felt if everybody was always telling me how they felt. And there was never a space or time where everybody was like, "Oh, well, are you okay?" Or like, how's things going for you?" My mind was always, "I'm good." You know what I'm saying? That was my response. Anytime somebody said, "How are you?" You know what I'm saying? I would be like, "I'm
Mhm.
good." But the whole time I was like dying on the
Yeah.
inside. But I didn't I had, put myself in its place of being like the strong friend, right?
Yeah.
And in being the strong friend, everybody just thought I was just okay because I was always there for everybody else. But when I fell, there wasn't anybody catching me. So
Yeah. Oh Lord. I usually say we admire those who help everybody out and do all these great things. And I think those are the main ones you need to check on, man.
absolutely,
Um, those who are worn with their own battles and still reserve space for other people. Um, I just say it's a lot to be said on that. I know after I watched that podcast, and I know we talked about it, it was so enlightening. It was hard to think of after Diana us telling our stories to each other, like, man, we could have changed this whole dynamic right here. And of course, you're not thinking about that at that time.
Right.
But I think having lived through it, like, man, you see value why God keeps you here. Let me just lay it right there, right? And so yeah, if you know of anybody, like I said, it's still October, 9 more days, but this is a conversation 365 days a year. If you know someone or you yourself has struggled, thought about suicide, like, let's normalize that conversation. Let's talk to someone about it. If you don't go watch that podcast, definitely go somewhere where someone will listen to you, because I guarantee you there's someone in this world that wants you here more than they want you, not being here. So, amen. Yes to that. Jawan took us to church. Amen. Yes, it does. Ruth, you have one more you want to share?
One.
Oh, okay.
Oh wow.
Thunder, stole your thunder. I'm just kidding. That's two, y'all. 2-0.
Yeah, she been in the nose, you know what I mean? But ain't nobody worried about it, you know what I mean? You actually got two of mine. I was like, you know what? Okay. Hey, I know when I'm defeated. It's okay. We're good. I do want to share one last one. This one really touched me. If you have time, really go back and look at it. I thought it was very interesting. Shouts out to Carlos and Frankie when they were a part of the show. They definitely brought an edge to the show that's unmatched. But we had a show that was entitled, I think it was season 1, our second episode, a candid conversation between a member of the LGBTQ community and UKQP. It was interesting dynamic because usually you find heterosexual men asking the questions to homosexual men. Now, I know in my faith that this is not me wavering from my faith and whatnot, but I try to understand other people. But I think in this unique opportunity, the young man and my frat brother that I had on, Dr. Greg Shirley, he was able to clarify and ask us questions as heterosexual men to where we often misunderstand or we just assume. And when I'm talking about to the level of hate or dislike or trying to hurt someone, I believe that we can all have our different opinions. We can have our different faiths, but I think you cross the line when it comes to, I gotta hate you, right? I gotta want to hurt you and what have you. And I thought that was a very interesting one that I think we assume, like with me, I'm a believer. I believe in Christ, right? But that does not warrant the hate. And I think from that conversation, that's what they're concerned with. Just no longer if you and I have a disagreement, right? You may like pink, I might like purple for whatever reason. But I think what we learned from that is that there is a real hate and perception to want to do ill will that they deal with every day in the lifestyle. That's more of a concern than whether someone liked them or not. And so that's the one that kind of stuck out to me when we had a candid conversation, is that they agreed, they're okay with people, whether from religious, how they were growing up, having their thought process on it. And they actually welcome that conversation. But I don't think we create enough space and we know about it, but I don't think we give enough space for it. Okay, what is the line? All right, just me being black or you being a black woman, do I now have to hate you and want to take your life? Well, okay, that's a different conversation. So I think that was something that I, honestly, like, I knew of it, but I didn't think that was something that they deal with way more often that I think we even care to think about. So, but that one was a very unique opportunity. You guys, look, with that being said, I want to thank Juwan, good friend Ann, Becky, O2 Boo back in here, you know what I'm saying, dropping jewels. also will be giving us whole topics to start whole podcast shows off of. We might got to reach out to you. But look, man, this has been a bonus episode as in we're closing out season 4 from fan mail and flashbacks, recapping the road to season 5. And so we want to thank you guys. We cannot thank you enough of all the contributions that you have made, giving us the platform, lending us your ear, agreeing with us in certain places, disagreeing with us in others, and challenging us to become better and having ongoing conversations as men and women. Next week, we will pause and hit the reset button. Actually, next Thursday is my birthday, and so we'll pause from right there. But be on the lookout, man. If you have not followed us on social media, we do have a page on Facebook. Of course, we're on TikTok, Instagram. We're out there on everything. Make sure you follow because we want to keep you plugged in. We have some great things in store for season 5, and we want you guys to actually be a part of it. And so go check us out on YouTube, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any place where you listen to your podcast at. I want to thank my teammates, man. You guys kind of gave me some perspective on what we've done here in the season, and kind of recapping and kind of going back over those kind of lost parts that we've done over the years, and hopefully we can improve on that and give a banging singing season 5 coming up. But with that being said, I want to thank you all again. You guys have a great night. Thank you for chiming in, and we'll talk to you later in season 5.
Thank you.